So a popular Ghanaian pastor made a list of several things that, according to him, makes one a failure if you are at 35 or if you're 35 years old and you're still staying with your parents, is one of those things, or staying in your family compound, you are a failure. If at 40, certain family relations can't reach out to you for help and a bunch of other things, you are a failure. So the question is, what is the definition of failure? Join the conversation on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948. So today we're going to be defining failure, I guess. And I would like us to take it one at a time. So the first one he says here is, you are a failure if at 35 you're still living with your parents' family or family compound, with your parents or in your family compound. What do you think about this?
Well, I will start with myself.
Okay.
Because my mother, my brother, my sister, we all stayed together in one house. My brother at the time was paying the rent. My mother started paying the rent, then my brother took it over. Mm-hmm. And then we've now moved to a family home. I have my own bungalow. He has his own. Everybody has their own.
Mm-hmm. In a family compound.
In a family compound. Okay. And I remember how we got that land. It was Femi's first record deal with Motown. He went and bought that land. And then divided it amongst all of us.
Siblings, wow.
So we all have our own property. So we want to stay together. In Africa, there is communal living.
Yes.
And it's what we have lost out in this, our Oyinbo way. Everybody face your own, face your own. But I believe that communal living also helps build. There is nothing you can do to break our family like that. You can't come from outside to come and break our family. You can stay in your house and be breaking shadows, but not. And that is what my father taught us. Even my mother, both of them, we've lived together forever. So is he saying that if I'm living with my mother and I'm the one paying the rent, I am a failure? Because I Googled the definition of failure, and the definition of failure is lack of success.
Yes.
So lack of, is if you don't have money in the bank.
Is that lack of success? Is that even lack of success?
It says lack of success, the neglect or omission of expected or required action. So,
that's the...
I want to ask the pastor first, or does he know that collecting money from your congregation in fake circumstances is definition of failure?
Okay, let's not go there.
So one thing I do not like with these lists that people will you just tell a story, you just make a list without putting into consideration so many other factors that come into, people's lives. A 35-year-old, just as you mentioned, living with his parents, there are just different reasons why. It could be a 35-year-old who is on a journey to success, who is on a journey to somewhere. It could be a 35-year-old who has done so well, and then he was scammed, and he's down on his luck, or something, and he's gone home to rest from all the world's wahala. And then immediately you term that person a failure. It could be people like you who have decided that they want to have that communal living. We have a compound, and all of us, we live in the same compound. But when you read that definition, the second part of a failure is when you refuse to take action towards your growth, towards your development. And for me, that's how I just see failure. Because just not having money, and you know how money is now. Today you have some, tomorrow you have so much of it, another time you have excess of it, another time things are tough. And so would you judge me on every scale, of availability of money that I have or not? The truth is, we need to be careful how we make this list, especially also for a pastor. Most of you are supposed to be motivational speakers. You're calling people into the church.
Are they supposed to be motivational speakers?
You're giving people hope. You're trying
That's
to
why I say,
to
you pastor that you are
people.
judging people, you are a failure.
I just don't, that particular list, I don't completely agree with. I don't even agree with that list. That's number one.
Yeah, so before we go to the second one, so I want to believe that what he meant with, so this scenario you painted is quite different from the regular people who would stay in their family compound without aspiring to have their own or to move out. So you see someone, you have trained him in school, trained her in school and everything, and then she doesn't want to do any form of work because the father has a house. She just sits there and nothing is happening, waiting for them to feed. There are scenarios like that, especially in an African context, I have seen personally. And I want to believe that's the sort of people this pastor is talking about. So if you're that kind of, yes, that kind of man
what of women who, until they get married, they don't want to leave their father's house?
Maybe their father does not release them.
No, even if they don't want to leave, because if they leave, the society, you're the same people that say, why are you out of your father's house before marriage? And then this person now decides to, okay, appeal in some way to society's sensibilities and stay back. And then in the same mouth, you now call the person a failure.
Okay, let's move on to the second one. It says you're a failure if you're waiting for government before you start something with your life.
Well, we can agree with that one small.
Small.
Yes.
Okay. Why small?
Small because, well, especially with Nigerian government, they're not going to answer you. So you better move on.
Better wake up.
Wake up and smell the coffee. You know, you won't say because Nigerian government won't give you light, you will not eat. So you don't wait for government. Find your way.
Yeah.
That's, but I still refuse that word, failure. I still, because you are a pastor. Why are you accusing people?
No, he may be using it to teach his congregation, to sit up and work.
He that is collecting tithes.
He's teaching, he's working. He's working. He did not use knife to collect the tithes.
Yeah, so
you chose to pay to your God, and you're paying through him.
So if I agree.
Okay,
Do you know what?
please.
They say he's a Ghanaian pastor.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe Ghanaians are waiting on government before they start. But we know this is Nigeria. Many Nigerians are out on the street hustling for everything that they need to eat, wear. You know, they're really not waiting for government. Our cry is usually, government, please do more so that our lives can be easier, so that we can run our businesses. We have our young ones here in Nigeria riding bikes, graduates, you know, doing all sorts of jobs just to make ends meet. We have people who are doctors and Uber drivers, you know, outside working hours. So that's the spirit of Nigeria. So maybe his own country, they are just sitting at home and waiting. In Nigeria,
I don't even believe they're waiting for government in Ghana. Because anybody who waits for government just forget your life.
Or maybe it's
Who
America
go and sleep in government house.
Yeah, but I know some countries too that they actually wait on the government to do everything for them. They are considered lazy, actually. So I wouldn't use the word failure because it's not me that would define failure for you.
Exactly.
But I know that those sort of people are considered lazy, where
so
the government has to pay them.
It's judgmental.
But that country, a government, there's a system of government doing things. So they're used to government working out for them. So
would you consider them failures?
I would consider them quite lazy.
Okay.
Because there are some people that just...
They are lazy, but not failures.
I think in the UK, they get, what do they...
Stipends?
They get welfare.
Welfare.
Yes. So... and people have been accused.
Housing.
Yes, they get housing. People have been accused of just being lazy and taking advantage of the system. When they are able-bodied, they can move around. Yes, but Nigeria, there's no housing, there's no welfare.
It is not
get up and go.
You know they've done Brexit, so they've driven all the hard workers out.
Yeah.
Now, the returns are now looking. Supermarket empty, everything empty.
Like, okay.
Because there's nobody to drive the trucks.
All right,
nobody
let's do the hard media
But they're not
jobs.
failures. They're just lazy.
They're lazy. Yeah, they're lazy, and they could be failures too. So it's the same when you're not when you don't take an action that you're supposed to take for your advancement, you are a failure. You give us that definition. On that note, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll take phone calls and messages. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. So we're still on this pastor's posts. And we are down to number 3. He says, you are a failure if all you think about is waiting to be fed by others. Regardless of your circumstances, you can start something. What do you ladies think about this? Because why I want to somehow agree with this, there are people that have a culture of beggy. They beg for everything. they have hands, you come close to them, you realize that they have talents, but they feel they are too big to start from a certain scratch. And they look at you and feel that you have maybe somebody has helped you get to that level, not understanding the work that you have put in, and then they just aspire without wanting to put in any work. So it's all about collecting. I want to do this. I want to do, and you are looking at the person and wondering, you can actually go out on the street and hustle the way I'm hustling, you know? So what do you think about it, YK? Let me start with you.
You see, there are some people, you know, this is where I may not agree with you when you say, don't wait for government. Let me tell you, there are some people who are born without any... Look, I'll give you, for example, the Amajari kids. They don't have hope. They are born without hope because you give birth to them, you put them on the streets to start begging. So they don't know any other life. Now, are you going to blame them?
For begging.
For begging. That is the life they have known. It is not right. It is not right to beg. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying you have not known any other life. There has not been any enabling environment
for you to thrive.
When there is no... When we talk about, the ones that are have on welfare in England, remember that they have an enabling environment. They actually can go and work. There are things that they can do. Here, what's your enabling environment?
Let's take this call from Femi from K2. Good morning, Femi.
Good. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing amazing.
Well done.
Thank
well
you.
Done.
Thank you.
Number one, like Yenny said, he has a communal living. They bought their land, and every one of them, very good system of living. And if you have children, all of them have gone to live around, but you retain one. Give him or her a flat in your home. That is not laziness. You just have to have somebody, one of the children at home. But whereby you retain a 35-year-old man or girl who refuses to work and depending on the parents to feed, that is an example of laziness and failure.
Thank you, Mr. Femi. Thank you so much. So there are two scenarios here.
Exactly, yes. You know, it's different if I want to stay in my father's house and just be eating bread and egg every day and yam and beans. And it's different, and I'm not working. Because when you say, think about a 35-year-old, what of the one that the mother is 80? And I decide to go and stay with my mother. I need someone to look after.
That's a different scenario. Mary, let me come to you.
Yeah, so my brother told me this very funny story. He said one time he was walking and he saw this chubby kids, about 3 of them playing, running around, you know, chasing each other. And he was even admiring them, like, look at them, so chubby and everything. Next thing, he just heard their parents. What are you still doing there? You have not gone to beg? Go back and go out and beg in Hausa. And he was in shock. And next thing, they were running onto the express, you know, trying to, while the parents were sitting afar off. So, you know, when you brought the story of the people who don't have any other life. So for those children on the street begging, it's not their fault. The people are using them to beg. They have these particular ones I talked about. They had their parents sitting down in the corner, using their children as tools to beg. Able-bodied parents, hands and feet, obviously mentally okay, you know, but probably no heart. Because how do you do that to your child or your children when you could have just put yourself together and do the best you can for them, provide for them, give them school. So, you know, when their mates are in school, they are out there begging. So begging, I think, is a failure.
It is.
If it's because, you cannot... because some people beg because they want to maintain a lifestyle that they cannot afford.
That one is failure too.
Yes. So that's another form of begging. Because people will say to you, but I'm broke or I can't. We understand that. We understand help for a little while. We understand a little fund
to help me.
But to beg so that someone will give you money to maintain a certain lifestyle, to beg when you want to put your children in a certain type of school, when you know that you can't afford that. You can afford a little less and comfortably, but no. So for me, and you're not doing anything to work towards doing better. Do you understand? That's begging.
That's begging. But begging doesn't necessarily mean failure. It just means you are a greedy person. I just want to be just
greed on top. You are greedy.
Greed plus the failure. Let's take this call from Stephen.
Greed.
Stephen from Kwara. Good morning, Stephen. We lost that. Okay, let's move on quickly to the next one. It says, you are a failure if you keep repeating mistakes in the name of human weakness.
I agree.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
You're a failure if you keep repeating mistakes in the name of human weakness. So I've seen people who, they make one mistake, you know, they come out of it, they relapse again, they come out of it. It now becomes a pattern. So when you have made a mistake to a point where it's now a part of you, it's now a pattern, you have built that neurological pathway. You're saying now that you are a failure.
You see, I don't like to be judgmental.
Yeah.
There are certain factors in people's lives. Until you know what is that factor in the person's life before you can
judge.
I'm not God. Who am I to judge anybody? If you have this, there are some people who are addicted to sex.
Yes.
For instance.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes. And then you now
it's an addiction.
Yes.
They need help.
Yes.
That is why they are psychologists. That's why they are psychiatrists. That's why they are life coaches.
Life coaches.
I mean,
Life coaches.
Coach now.
Life coaches.
Lifetime coaches.
I know they call yourself something, Sha. That is why they are there to help assist people who are weak in certain aspects in their lives. No two people are the same.
Yeah.
No two people are the same. Look, I remember I used to smoke. And I tried for years and years and years to give it up. Every January 1st, I would say, my last cigarette.
Resolution.
In fact, towards the end, I just said, I will never do New Year's resolution because by third,
yes,
you are looking for cigarettes.
So how did you stop?
My daughter entered university. My chest was paining me.
Oh. So now
and I looked at my life like this. This is your chest is paining. You are about to die. Your daughter will graduate. You will not be there. Who will pay her school fees when you die? Come, madam.
Reality check.
Reality check. The day she entered university, the day I stopped.
Wow.
And I said to myself, when she graduates and I have seen her into life,
to clap for you.
I will start again.
But
there was no point.
Yes.
But I was weak to the point where
for a very long time
till it became necessity.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Mother of invention.
When I look back, your daughter.
I love this story.
You will not want that graduate. This is what you are doing. Nobody to pay us. I just the last cigar like this. From that day till as we are talking today.
That's awesome. Let's take this call from Ebonyi State. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for making my morning.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, this is the second time I'm reaching you. And this army smiles on your face makes my morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Uvoma.
Let me tell you something. My name is Ufoma. It's not Ufoma.
Ufoma. Okay.
That's my name.
Got that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The point is this. The pastor has not taken note of the economic situation in Nigeria. For instance, maybe we propose that for the Ghanaians. Because in Nigeria, a guy of 35 is just beginning. At 40, most young men have not even married. I want to put it to him that he made a mistake because it's just like one pastor in a church I visited who was collecting tithes from a gate man in my club. And I was wondering why the pastor was giving an example with that gate man. Whether he's supposed to be helping the gate man. So, in this case, it's a failure on the part of the pastor.
Thank you, Pastor Gogo is the failure.
Ufoma, we like you. Thank you so much.
His story reminds me of...
Because, excuse me, I like what he said. a gatesman. The guy, are you calling him a failure because he's earning pittance that the stupid pastor is paying him? It's that person that's paying him small change. And he's collecting inside that small change as tithes.
10%.
But the guy is hardworking.
Yes.
He wakes up and goes to work every day.
He's diligent.
It is not his fault that
he's a gatesman. Upgrade him.
There's a story I heard in church one time.
That pastor Gogo is the failure.
There's a story. Okay.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. So, Miriam, you wanted to say something.
I heard this story a long time ago in the church. The pastor was saying that there's this new person that came into church, and every time they are praying, he always falls under the power of the Holy Ghost. So even before you reach him, he has fallen. Then after a while, he asked some of the church workers to follow him home and just find out, and they realized that he didn't have a mattress. He slept on the bare floor. And so it was out of stress. It was not Holy Ghost. So they put money together and got him a mattress for him to sleep. So you see, when we're talking about sometimes people have their issues at home, and as a pastor, you should help much more than just collect it from them. I thought it was a funny story to share.
It is. So, you know, we're rounding up this because we have to move on to another topic.
You haven't said why we have to move on.
He's our producer. We're enjoying this topic. Producer said we should move on to another topic. So we're going to move on. But let us round up this one. So for me, I think what I've picked from some of the comments you have made so far is that nobody has a right to define failure for you. We need to start owning our own successes. We need to start, having our own standards. So I don't have to fly as high as Miriam to see myself as successful. I have my own level. I have my own aspirations. I have my own destiny. So wherever you find yourself, work with your lemons. Make it a lemonade. Do to the best of your ability. Put in the work there. And at whatever level you get to, own it. Enjoy the process.
Can I just add something there?
Please.
As long as you are honest, you have integrity, you are doing your job diligently, whether you are rich or poor. Because
we are already
our politicians who are chopping government money, are they not failures? Are you tell me they are successes?
In their mind, they are successes.
You see, and in that person's mind, they will be successful because they have money.
To pay
because
big
they have
big cars and big
yacht
houses.
or a private jet. Excuse me. They are chopping from that poor gatesman who is hardworking.
That poor market woman.
That poor market woman.
And those ones bring their tithes regularly. It's regular.
No, but because me, I am a politician and I have money, I don't bring, when I bring my tithe poor, I've destabilized everybody else's tithe.
Then you make me special seat in front.
I just sit in front. Success. I'm not in
Please, I'm not bashing pastors today.
I'm not even politician.
Government,
government thief.
And for me, as long as you're doing
honest politicians.
Okay. Are they?
As long as you're doing what you need to do to advance yourself, to develop yourself, and to add to honesty and integrity, you have good character, and you're waking up and doing all you can, the best that you can for yourself.
Your ability.
You're not a failure.
Exactly.
You're not a failure. You're growing at your own pace.
When you judge people, you are a failure. Pastor, hear that wrong.
Thank you so much. So let's take a teeny weeny break, and we will be right back.
Break
Stay with
again?
us.
So producer break.